The cryptoterrestrial hypothesis basically sort of maintains that we are sharing the planet with a species that's possibly as far in advance of us as we are from chimpanzees in certain areas of development. Not necessarily everything. We obviously have some things that the alleged cryptoterrestrials, or CTs as I refer to them for brevity, don't have, like a global infrastructure. I think it seems likely to me that the CTs utilize imagery that we associate with extrasolar aliens to disguise their presence, to kind of mask where they're coming from, and to throw us off the scent. I think one thing that this secret civilization among us has going for it is a very prolonged, maintained, and very well cultivated sense of stealth. I think that they thrive on secrecy. I think that's a big asset. I think they're flesh and blood. I think a lot of them could possibly pass for human. And I think that they share the planet with us, and I think they're nomadic. And it seems to me that they are here to stay, in the sense that they've been here a long time. If you look at folklore, we find recurring references to them in different disguises, but then again, that seems to be kind of the hallmark of the whole thing. I think that UFOs are their latest disguise, because we automatically associate that with aliens from other planets. And there's nothing inherently unsound about the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and it's not mutually incompatible with the cryptoterrestrial idea. But nevertheless, I think that when we look at the evidence of like hybridization programs like Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs, I don't see what sense that would really make if it's an extrasolar species interacting with us. Why they would have any interest in human DNA like they're alleged to have. On the other hand, if we share a common ancestor with these beings, these people, it begins to make sense. And when you look at certain cases that have reproductive overtones, it's very interesting to consider that we're dealing with a genetically impoverished species right here on Earth that is utilizing us for genetic stock, because it's very likely that if the cryptoterrestrials are indeed real and indeed sharing the planet with us, that they are marginalized and that they have a very compromised population. If that's so, then they might very well need to replenish their genetic stock from time to time, and to do so under the auspices of being aliens from another star system, another planet, would fall right into kind of what we expect. And it would be the perfect smokescreen, I think. I think it would be very effective, and I think it would fool a great many people. And if you look at popular culture, where we tend to be fascinated by accounts of aliens, to the point where the word aliens is synonymous with the extraterrestrial hypothesis. But I don't think the extraterrestrial idea is the final word. I think it's worth considering, but I also think that the idea that we're sharing the planet, as ludicrous as it may sound when you first consider it, has some good circumstantial evidence to back it up and to complement some of the ideas associated with it. So I wouldn't rule it out at all, and I think it's a real intriguing idea, and the more I look into it, the more credible I find it. It appeals to our ego to think that aliens really care about whether we blow ourselves up or not, that we're that important in the cosmic scheme. And I rather doubt we are. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but it makes more sense to me that we're dealing with an intelligence that shares the planet with us and shares a stake in it. Therefore, when we started detonating atomic bombs in the 1940s, shortly thereafter the first modern UFO sightings came about. That to me is very suggestive that we are sharing the planet with something that has a very big stake in what we do. It doesn't want to make formal contact for whatever reasons, and we can speculate endlessly on that one. But it does seem very highly suggestive to me that we're dealing with an intelligence that shares the planet with us and is concerned about its fate and knows that we have the technological ability to do it grave harm if we continue certain trends. And therefore, I don't think that it's the best interpretation to think that we're being watched by aliens from another star system because we're starting to advance towards outer space where we might inflict harm on visiting galactic civilizations. I think that's a little premature. I think that it's more likely that we're being kept on a leash, on a psychosocial leash by beings that are very, not too dissimilar from us in many respects, but in some other respects very, very alien. The Rendlesham case, if true, and by that I just mean if it was not a military operation to test combat readiness or whatever in the midst of a nuclear crisis or something, would seem to fall into the same basic pattern as the Washington National sightings, in that it seems like a very deliberate, orchestrated event. It doesn't sound like something landed in the woods and people happened across it. It seems like that was the entire point, was for people to see it. And psychologically, that would seem to be misdirection on behalf of someone, wanting to impress us, wanting to perpetuate this extraterrestrial mythos. And what better way to do that than land in the midst of a sensitive installation and get a lot of people really uptight and really nervous, and show us what amounts to a special effects display. So I find the Rendlesham case very interesting, because I think on one hand it could very easily be the work of the military, testing psychological reactions to an unforeseen event. But on the same token, that's exactly the sort of behavior that I would expect of indigenous humanoids living in our midst. So it's an interesting question, and it casts light on what I like to think of as this disinformation campaign being waged against us by an intelligence. And when you get deeper and deeper into this, it seems like we have this information campaign on top of campaign, and some of it is us, obviously, when you investigate, and some of it is not so easily ascribed to human intelligence. And I'm forced to consider that, at least hypothetically, we're dealing with a non-human species that lives right here on this planet.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
قل أوحي إلي أنه استمع نفر من الجن فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا وأنه تعالى جد ربنا ما اتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا وأنه كان يقول سفيهنا على الله شططا وأنا ظننا أن لن تقول الإنس والجن على الله كذبا وأنه كان رجال من الإنس يعوذون برجال من الجن فزادوهم رهقا وأنهم ظنوا كما ظننتم أن لن يبعث الله أحدا وأنا لمسنا السماء فوجدناها ملئت حرسا شديدا وشهبا وأنا كنا نقعد منها مقاعد للسمع فمن يستمع الآن يجد له شهابا رصدا وأنا لا ندري أشر أريد بمن في الأرض أم أراد بهم ربهم رشدا وأنا منا الصالحون ومنا دون ذلك كنا طرائق قددا وأنا ظننا أن لن نعجز الله في الأرض ولن نعجزه هربا وأنا لما سمعنا الهدى آمنا به فمن يؤمن بربه فلا يخاف بخسا ولا رهقا وأنا منا المسلمون ومنا القاسطون فمن أسلم فأولئك تحروا رشدا وأما القاسطون فكانوا لجهنم حطبا وأن لو استقاموا على الطريقة لأسقيناهم ماء غدقا لنفتنهم فيه ومن يعرض عن ذكر ربه يسلكه عذابا صعدا